Welcome to the Law School Strategy Podcast, your weekly home for tips, advice, exclusive interviews, and other insights into landing that coveted legal job by graduation. We're here to help every law student develop their law school strategy. Don't go through law school blind. It's time to get out of the classroom, put your books down, and finish that outline later. Now, here's your host, Franklin Graves.
Hi, and welcome to another episode. This week, we're going to dive into one major issue that I kind of think is really important for law students to do, especially before they go to a conference. So I'm right off the heels of the ABA's 32nd Annual Intellectual Property Law Conference in Washington, D.C. I met with a lot of law students because they have a particular group within the division, within the section of intellectual property law that is strictly for getting law students plugged in and active and engaging and involved with intellectual property law and the field. So anyways, after meeting with all the students, I kind of told some in advance as well that it's important to have law student business cards. Law student business cards, I know, you might be thinking, what on earth, first of all, what on earth are they? And then second of all, how on earth do I get them? Well, it's pretty easy to answer number two. So let's just start with number one. Law student business cards they're essentially a way for you to give something back in exchange for the business card that you receive from a practicing attorney, a legal professional, or anybody else that has a business card, which, let's face it, most people that are working in a career or a job have a business card. So as a law student, a business card that you have can help you, first of all, exchange something back with them that they take and that they can look back on and think, oh, hey, I remember meeting so-and-so. Or it can also be a way for you to stand out because, like I said, most law students don't know about them. So what is a law student business card? A law student business card is essentially a business card that has your name, your information, your school. It can be as simple as a headline like JD candidate and the year, or it can even be something like what you have on your LinkedIn headline that's more creative. And it has basic contact information. You can choose to put your email, your school email, or your phone number, or your website, or anything like that. I have seen some that have pictures or other things, and I'll admit, mine, when I was starting out, I think on my first version, I put my picture just because I thought I was being cool. I don't necessarily recommend that. So do what you want in terms of putting a picture on it. Again, I don't think it's necessary. You can create kind of a cool logo or like a cool logo or a cool image with your first and last name. A lot of different options are available, and you can use plenty of online websites to go and print your own and have them mailed to you. A lot of times it's free for like the first 100 or 150. You just pay for the shipping. So you don't have to have any graphic design skills to do it. That being said, a lot of law schools also offer their students the ability to order the branded cards that are using the university logo and fonts and colors, and they're really nice, printed either in a print shop on campus or somewhere else. But that's always an option too. A lot of law students I talk to, their law school or the main university it's tied to does not offer something like that. So don't freak out. It's perfectly fine. I will tell you a career service office is the best place to start. They can tell you, first of all, whether the school offers any, and then secondly, if it doesn't, whether or not you can use the school logo to create your own, because a lot of law students like to put their school's logo or emblem on it. The best recommendation I have is try to find a communication office or some type of branding guidelines for your university, and you can find the right way to kind of mimic and get that feel of your law school, especially if you're local and you have alumni you're meeting with that you want to kind of tailor and they'll recognize the style. I think the second point was how do you get business cards, law student business cards? And it's as simple as creating it yourself. If you're like me, the first year that I needed some, and I kind of, I waited till the last minute. Avery has these perforated business cards that you can print at home, but it's like a really cool, I guess, pattern or whatever they have that makes it so that there's no perforation. It doesn't show. So when you rip off the card, you send it through like an inkjet printer or something and print it off, and then you just break apart the cards, and you can't even tell. Like it's just a solid, like it was cut like with a machine cutter. So those are I highly recommend those. You can get them on Amazon, Walmart. Office Depot, Max, whatever local office supply store you have. And again, those really work in a pinch. So it was 4 years ago that I attended my first IP conference for ABA's IP section, and I actually had a shipping mishap, and my business cards never came in time from an online service. So at the last minute, I had to go and print some, and I used the Avery cards, and it was actually really, really nice and worked really well. So I can definitely recommend that route if you're in a pinch and you want to just have like 20 or 30 for your local networking event. So yeah, that's the importance of law student business cards. So now let's kick it over to an interview that I had with two practicing attorneys. They share some insights into how important networking can be, especially when you're in a small local community. Let's check out the interview and find out how they graduated from law school with a job. Hi, and welcome to another episode of How I Graduated from Law School with a Job. On this episode, I'm talking with Kyle James and Elizabeth Spadafore from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you both for joining. I'm really excited to talk with you both, and you're both from the same firm, so that's why you're here together. But we'll get to that in just a minute. So Kyle, I'll go ahead and kick it off with the first question to you. Why did you go to law school, and then what did you do or study before law school?
I went to law school because I was going to graduate with a degree in psychology and didn't think that I was going to make a life or a career with that degree. And law school was something I'd always wanted to do and never thought I could do or would enjoy. So I finally looked into it and decided it was right for me. And I jumped in with both feet.
And where did you go to undergrad, and then where did you go to law school?
I went to undergrad at Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where we practice now. I studied psychology there, and then I went to law school at University of Pittsburgh.
Great. Okay. And Elizabeth, the same question.
Not dissimilar to Kyle, actually. I graduated with a degree in dance from Slippery Rock University, and I knew that that would be temporary, that career would be temporary. So I dove into that career for as long as I could, and then decided while working as a paralegal that I wanted to be the boss. So I went ahead and pursued my JD at Duquesne University.
Great. And so what did you do as a paralegal? What kind of environment did you work in? I'm assuming it was a law firm?
Yes, I worked in mainly mid-sized firms in Pittsburgh, and I was doing a lot of personal injury and insurance defense and subrogation. It was the perfect exposure to the field, and it gave me a lot of professional connections, and I credit my post law school career to that experience.
So that's the perfect segue into the follow-up question for you. Did you graduate from law school with a job? And then if so, how did you do it?
I did. When I started law school, I was fortunate enough to have been close to Duquesne University, so I was able to go to their night program, which allowed me to work full-time as a paralegal during the day. And I stayed with the firm that I was with all through law school, and then after law school, they sent me up to Northwestern Pennsylvania to open and manage 3 new offices for them. So because I had built a relationship as a paralegal with that firm during school, I was able to graduate with a job. And that was in 2010, when most of my colleagues were suffering in the job market. Some of them are still contract attorneys. So I think that being able to work and be a part of a firm the whole time was really my saving grace.
Absolutely. And it definitely since 2010 is that time frame when you hear a lot of graduates during that time frame talking about how they either had like an offer revoked or their law firm dissolved after the bar exam. So that's really amazing that you're able to actually go and help start up a new branch. And so can you kind of talk about during law school, what typically you hear of students having to get multiple internships and go that route. Was it pretty much solidified that you would keep returning back every semester or every summer?
Well, for me it was, because I was an employee. I was a paralegal rather than a clerk. Believe it or not, I did have some time when I clerked for additional firms just to kind of get myself around a bit. so those were impermanent, the clerk positions. But as a paralegal employee, I knew that unless I gave my 2 weeks notice, I would remain an employee. So for me, that was very stable and consistent. It also reduced my debt.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm sure. So Kyle, back to you now. The question that everybody wants to know is: did you graduate from law school with a job, and if so, how did you do it?
I graduated law school without a job, but got a job within like a week or two, as did most of my graduating class. I think there was like 30 or 40 of us that ended up getting hired a couple weeks after law school at an oil and gas like title researching company out of Washington, Pennsylvania, with like offices nationwide. But they went on a big hiring spree, and the timing was perfect because we had all just graduated. So like everybody from my class applied, and like everybody got a job there. And so all of us worked there, and knowing that was temporary. I mean, we were independent contractors, so there was no benefits or anything like that. But the money was good for being right out of law school. But, spending your days in courthouse basements looking at 200-year-old patents and things like that and deeds, it was not a long-term gig. So when we all passed the bar, I think there was like 5 or 6 people that stayed working there, and everybody else moved on after they passed the bar and got real jobs. So I got a temporary job, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't a job that I absolutely needed my degree for, but it was a qualification that the employer wanted. I mean, I didn't use my legal knowledge in really in depth or anything like that, but it was a job that my degree allowed me to get.
Certainly. And so backing up a little bit, let's go back to your law school experience. Did you have any internships or externship opportunities that you took advantage of during that time frame as well?
I did. I did not work during the school year at all. I just got my summer internships. My first summer internship was through a family connection. It was my stepdad's friend from high school. He's a CEO of a tech startup in Southern California. So it was nice to get out of Pittsburgh for a summer and go, hang out at like Laguna Beach like every weekend and in the summer, and working for a tech startup was pretty cool. Really cool experience. Get to sit in on investor meetings and top level management meetings and things like that. And then my second summer, I got an internship with another energy startup in the Pittsburgh area, and that was through some connections that I had made at the school with my teachers, professors. So they got me the hook up on that. And the funny story is, the internship I almost had my second summer of law school was, you remember those silly bands that people used to wear, like the kids used to wear? They were like rubber bands shaped like animals. They were rubber bands shaped like a zebra or an elephant. You put them on.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who invented those, and he was the CEO of his company, he was in town, and we befriended one of our professors, and she met this guy, and he came and spoke to us because we were in this entrepreneurship class. And so we went out for drinks afterwards, and my buddy and I were set up to go to Vegas and live there for the summer and work for the Silly Bands company and like just be put up in Vegas for a summer. And we were so ecstatic. And then I think the company started falling apart, and he ended up falling apart, and our internship fell apart. So we ended up with more boring summer internships, but we could have been living in Vegas and like working for like a kids' toys company. Would have been awesome.
If only that had worked out. Yeah. Okay, great. And let's follow up now. How did you end up, what was your next career path? Was it immediately into this firm that you're in now, or did you have something else after that brief stint as an independent contractor?
Yeah, it was immediately into this firm. I applied for quite a few jobs while I was waiting for the bar, and it's not really the best time to apply because you're a little more marketable when you pass the bar. So once I passed the bar, I applied for a few jobs, had a few interviews, and then on a whim, I reached out because I knew one of the partners' wives back when I used to referee hockey when I was in high school. So I reached out to her, sent her my resume, and she forwarded it along to the firm. And the firm had that day decided that they should probably look at hiring an associate. So it was just the perfect timing that I sent my resume up here, and they interviewed me and hired me. So I got I got lucky. It's the connections. It was who you know.
Exactly.
That really helped. They knew that I was from the area, and that was helpful, especially being at in a small town. There's 15, 17,000 people here. If you're looking at a small firm, or small to mid-sized firm in a small town, they want to know somebody. They want somebody that's not going to come and work for a couple of years and take off. They want somebody that's got some connections to the region. At least that's my understanding.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And that's very similar to my experience. It was the wife of my now CEO, my boss, who connected me and got me the job that I have now. So it's definitely a lot of personal connections can help out. Elizabeth, back to you now. Can you kind of give us a rundown of how you ended up at the firm that you're in now?
Kyle. So it really came down to connections for me as well. I went from the firm that had sent me up to manage the new offices to government work. I went right into an in-house position with the Department of Environmental Protection, and then bounced over to Child Protective Services. But while I was getting into those government positions, I was practicing with Kyle in the juvenile law system as a court employee. And we got to know each other and enjoy practicing together in that way. And the timing was just right. We stayed connected. I stayed as active as I could with the bar. We went to as many events as we could get to, and got to know some of the other partners in this firm. And when they were ready to transition for another attorney, we had already made the necessary connections to make that possible. But I have to say, I previewed some of your questions, and really the bottom line was that we were well connected to the other members of the Bar Association here. I did bounce around a bit because I became a parent after law school. And so I did do some bouncing around from job to job to try to find the right fit for my needs. And I never had to interview for any positions. I didn't have to apply cold to anything. Because we are members in this community that are rooted here. People sort of sought me out and said, this position is opening, could you please come over? So I think that really, before you're a parent or while you're out there getting started, the most valuable thing I think for us both was really becoming rooted into the network of other attorneys and even businesses in your area.
So it sounds like you're both members of your local bar association. So can you talk about the benefits? Obviously, we kind of can see the benefits of the community building aspect of it, but what are some other benefits and insights you have into students that are looking to join a bar association?
Really, networking. We have both social meetings and business meetings with our bar association. We have a young lawyers division that does a lot of get to know you activities. They do. We have a fantasy football thing that we do every year, and regular get-togethers, both social and business. And I think being a part of those and getting your face out there is the biggest benefit. You'll have opportunities to take on leadership roles as different projects become available through the Bar Association. I think promoting yourself through the Bar Association activities was a real benefit to us.
Definitely. And Kyle, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, one of the big advantages is the judges go to these things, and I don't know if that's just this county. I imagine that's a lot of counties, but the judges go to these things, and you want the judges to know you, and you want them to know you in a good way. So they at least see your face at these things, and they know that you're active in growing the local practice, growing the reputation of you and your fellow attorneys, and being invested in that. I think goes a long way with the judges. And obviously, those are probably some of the most important people in your practice. You got to keep them happy too, in addition to your clients. But so they probably like seeing our faces at these things, and they give input at these things. I mean, they give speeches sometimes, or they have issues that they want to bring up. Like we've got new court reporter rules in Pennsylvania, and we just had a conference about that where the judge explained everything. So they are informative as well. But to echo what Elizabeth said, I mean, everything I think in terms of building your legal career just comes down to networking, getting yourself out there. I mean, you hear the saying, it's all who you know, right? I mean, that is so true, especially in this in this arena.
So you mentioned the judges and those people being at the events, and one of my favorite types of CLEs to attend are the views from the bench, where the judges actually talk about their pet peeves and what they enjoy, what they don't like, and that's really insightful. And I think that a lot can be learned from that. So let's pretend like we've been out of law school for a little while now. So what are some tips or what advice would you give to law students for how they can stand out in the current job market?
I think that we all have the same qualifications. We've all got a JD, we've all passed the bar, and we all have some sort of background. I think I should mention I'm one of only a handful of female members of the bar in this area, so I'm already standing out for that reason. But beyond that, I think that employers are primarily interested in how you can distinguish yourself with your work ethic, your personality, your values. I think that when you get into a bar association, you distinguish yourself because of your personality, really. I think they are interested in knowing that you're a good fit. They're looking for something long term, so they want to appreciate who you are and what you can bring to the table. So I think when we get out of school, we're really focused on our academic accomplishments and the things we've written and what our GPA was. And I think that the reality when it comes down to it is they're interested in your personality, your work ethic, your values, and how you can fit well with their firm long term. I think that we all assume that we can put in enough hours, get enough billables to make it work. That's an assumption. I think you need to show who you are and what you can bring to the table.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we're a big firm for around here, and there's 10 attorneys here, but no, there would never be a staff member or an attorney hired here that couldn't go out and have a beer with. Maybe in like really large firms, it's more about academics. But I think these mid to small size firms, you're going to spend at least 8 hours a day together, or at least in the same building, 5 days a week. They don't want to hang out or be around somebody that's not approachable or has no personality or can't, always takes themselves seriously or something like that. I think another way to stand out or to help stand out to potential employers is, and I know it always ties back to the connections, but I spoke at the college, Allegheny College, the local school here in town. I spoke to their pre-law club, and the big thing I told them that they should focus on when they get to school is connect with a couple of professors or staff members. For me, I connected with a professor, and she also ran the Innovation Practice Institute, which was kind of geared towards the entrepreneurial attorneys and things like that, which was nice because it helped me kind of find a passion for entrepreneurship, which has nothing to do with my practice. But I connected with her, and that really opened the doors to meeting people like the guy who invented Silly Bands, or the other internship I got. So having that connection, that helped me stand out because I'm getting somebody whose job it is to make me successful. I'm connecting with them, and they're saying good things about me to potential employers. That goes so much further than like nailing a question about, what's your weakness at an interview. That's so unimportant, I think.
Going back to the academics point, I think that is one of my previous guests said that 90% of the students are not in the top 10%, which is so true. And so you have to account for other avenues of getting somewhere besides a big law firm or somewhere where grades are going to be the only way to get you to where you want to be. So very, very insightful. And I think the biggest takeaway I have from this is the personal connections helped all of us actually get our jobs. And it's important to stay involved and be active in the local community if that's where you want to be. So following one of the final questions I want to ask for both of you, and you can take it in turns, is do you have any final pieces of advice or any other insights that you would give to a law student? And the way that I kind of typically phrase this is I ask you to put yourself back into your position of, let's pretend you're about to graduate law school now in May 2017. So what advice would you give to yourself when you're about to graduate?
The advice to myself, if I'm looking at graduation, would be, well, I took this advice, so I don't know how accurate it is, so maybe I'll give you another answer, but don't screw around for the bar exam, A, but B, realize it's just a test, so don't stress yourself out too much. Just treat it like a job. Set aside the time to put 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever it is, but just treat it like a job. Show up to work, do the work, and then relax afterwards. Go to the gym, go have a beer. Like, you've got 2-3 months to study for it. So don't beat yourself up over it. I know a lot of people that stress themselves out way too much for that whole period of time. But when it came time to perform, they had issues performing. And then me and a lot of my buddies, we treated it like a job. We showed up to work, we did the work, and then we lived our lives for that time we were studying. We were all successful, which was nice. So that would be my advice to somebody that's about to graduate, because I know that's like the biggest thing on the mind. But same with the LSAT, it's a test. You just got to get prepared for the test. It's not, you're not going to end up in the grave if you don't do well. Obviously you want to pass, but don't get inside your own head. Just do the work and get it done.
I would say post bar exam, put your irons in the fire and just work. Get on a nonprofit, start volunteering, get yourself out there, put as many irons in the fire as you can, and throw it all at the wall and see what sticks. I think you need to just get started, and then you can find your niche once you're in there and you're working. But I think you just have to really be prepared to pound pavement. Get out there, get your face out there, and just work.
Excellent. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, and you shared some really great insights and excellent advice. So thank you again. Are there one of the last things I want to ask or let you share is a way for people to get in touch with you if you have a follow-up question. So can Elizabeth, you start with sharing a way to have people reach out to you if they have any other questions?
Definitely. Kyle and I can both be reached here at the office. My email is Spadafore@schaferlaw.com. Or you can go directly to our website, www.schaferlaw.com, and get us through our website.
Excellent. Okay, well, I will put a link to both your email addresses and your website. Well, not your email addresses. I'll do just your website that people can link to and find your contact information there in the description below on this video, and also in the show notes for the podcast feed. So thank you again, and look forward to keeping up with you as you continue forward in your careers.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Make sure you subscribe to never miss an episode. Again, we always welcome feedback. So if you have any comments, questions, or general tips or advice you'd like to share, put it in the comments below, tweet it, or email me. And if you'd like to be on the show as a law student featured doing some pretty cool or amazing things, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on. The same goes for attorneys that are wanting to share their unique or interesting story and their perspective on how they graduated from law school with a job. Thanks again for listening, and see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Law School Strategy Podcast. Check out lawschoolstrategy.com and make sure you subscribe to never miss an episode of the Law School Strategy Podcast. We're on all podcast apps and on YouTube, so leave a review. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, nothing in this podcast should be considered legal advice. Please consult with an attorney on any legal issues you may be facing.